Bagseed Chronicles is a podcast about cannabis and the people who enjoy it.
Opened the door and there was glass stuck in the walls, all four walls, because the Pyrex dish had blown up.
Higher Peaks from Oregon Rooted, Part 2. Let's go!
So the strains you were growing back there, was it mostly bag seeds back in the day, Outlaw? Or what?
Yeah, all black market was bags. The thing is back in the 90s, you really couldn't... You had to be a well-known grower to know other growers.
Right.
So if you're just a little home grower, I didn't have, it was hard to get genetics is what I'm saying.
Okay.
You couldn't just... If you didn't have bag seed, the only other option really was High Times.
Okay, yeah.
So you go to High Times, yeah.
Okay.
So you order from High Times and just give a little prayer that it shows up at your doorstep.
And I hear a lot of times those packs would not show up.
Half the time they didn't.
Half the time.
And I remember back in the early 90s, you were still paying $60 to $100 a pack. It was still expensive. And so that was kind of iffy. But I do remember DJ Short's Blueberry coming out in the early 90s. And I did order that from High Times, and I was like, yes. And that was one of my kick-ass grows. Which is odd because now I do interviews with his son all the time. So.
Yeah, I've listened to some of those. Those are fun to listen to.
So it's kind of ironic that full circle type thing going on there. But
so mostly bag seed, and then toward the end, you got a couple strains going. Did you ever keep anything around? Like clone-wise?
Not out of the black market. No, I didn't start collecting really good seeds until 2015. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that kind of when everyone got comfortable enough and there was more market.
Well, I could start getting seeds like in the state that were already there, just not readily available because it was like you had to either know somebody or.
Even 4 years ago, getting seeds from the dispensary was kind of hard, and now like I saw feminized genetics at a couple different places, and there for a while you couldn't find feminized seed. And I know people have opinions about feminized seed. Yeah. I'll grow anything. I grow autoflowers. Mm-hmm. I grow photoperiods, and I grow feminized seed. Not regular photoperiod, but feminized seed. And they've produced fine for me. I haven't had a problem. I haven't bred with them, but they're fine for like growing weed.
Yeah. Well, bag seed was always such a roll of the dice. I found some great shit and I found some shit. But, it was a roll of the dice. And then, but these new genetics that we get these days in Oregon, you can get, and I recommend that to new growers, man, get the best genetics you can. Yeah. Because you can be the best grower in the world, and with crappy genetics, it's not going to work. But we've done strains. I've built strains. I used a bunch of second gen, JD Shorts, material to make my own strains. Yeah. And so we did that. I've got a whole seed bank out of that.
Nice.
But no like hit the shelf, top shelf stuff yet.
Right. Okay.
So I'm still looking.
Okay. What are you growing now though?
Right now?
Yeah.
So I'm really big on orange.
Okay.
That's my terp.
Okay. Interesting.
So I got Tropicana cookies out there.
Okay.
From Onai.
I'm a big fan of anything with cookies in it that tastes good.
Yeah, I like the Tropicana. So I got that. That's the legit Onai strain. And then I got, I put him on my Instagram, but Far Out Farms. He's a real close buddy of mine, and he's got some really good genetics. Okay. And so I got his Tropina, which is a Tropicana crossed with... I can't remember what the other one is. It was a melon, I think. And then I've got a duct tape from him.
Okay, I like that one. That one's a nice indica. I like that one a lot.
That duct tape is so stinky. I'm going to be really nervous because it's going to stink up this whole neighborhood.
Well, it's an early finisher, though, right? So it'll be done before. Yeah. So it'll advertise to everyone, and then it'll be gone.
I'm out. I'll be out. Yeah, that goes early. And then I've got, let's see, I got a white grapefruit from Onai, and then a Wilson Zero from Onai.
Okay.
And then I got the original cut of Amnesia OG, which is known on the shelf as Where's My Bike?
Okay.
It's grown by Benson Arbor locally here. So to find it, you'd have to get it under Benson. But I got the Amnesia OG from it wasn't Riot Seeds. It was Karma Genetics.
Okay.
So we'll see on that one.
Yeah, I need to start buying more local genetics. I've been bad and been all over the internet.
So there's strong strains, but there's nothing fancy. It's just my preference. That Amnesia makes a really good concentrate.
Okay.
Tropicana is going to be my staple.
Okay.
And then I already know that what the Tropenia and the duct tape come out at. So
yeah. Okay. That's good. I think people need to hear that, like, what you grow should be like, you can grow a hype strain just to grow a hype strain, but maybe just do that with one pot and really just grow what you think will work for what you like. Like, you're not home cultivating for anyone else. You're doing it for you. So don't grow it because you want to show it off. That might be an aspect of it, but grow it because it has something you need. And don't worry about what the market dictates or anything else. If you can find it, what you like, and grow it, just keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like strawberry cheesecake, not blueberry cheesecake. So
okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't like GMOs are good, but I just that garlic funkiness.
Oh, you don't like that?
No, I do.
Okay.
I just, it's not my favorite.
Okay.
And then like these sweeter ones that kind of got the sweet flavors, the berry flavors.
Okay.
Those are okay, but not my favorite. I really like the citrus, the orangey, the lemony, and then the skunks, of course.
Yeah.
Like the GG4 or duct tape. That really kind of gluey,
like chemical funk?
Yeah.
Like, how would you... Like,
yeah, it's really weird.
It's not quite like...
It's got a pungent...
chem. I wouldn't say chem
no.
or like... But it's definitely got like a almost synthetic... back...
gluey tapey smell.
Yeah, like it's like a... Yeah, like
adhesive.
someone adhesive. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And what's sad is, like, I guess I'm old school, but like I, to this day, still search for a good GG4. But you can't find them. Like, this is what happened to strains. Because of the way it is now in Oregon, I swear, a hype strain will come out.
Right.
They'll blow it up. A couple, 2 or 3 good farms will grab it, make a quality top shelf flower out of it. Boom, you're smoking the chronic. Shit's badass. And then the hype dies. So those farms ditch it, and then all the lower players get it and turn it into a mid-shelf product. Because all GG4 now is mid-shelf. It's just crap.
I feel like...
Because it's not a hype strain no more.
I've never bought seeds of that because, like you said, I had good GG one time. It was at a friend's house, and they grew it in their backyard. And I'd never had GD4 like that. Like, usually it's like standard, like, whatever, indica mids, like you said, which is fine. I'll smoke that stuff all day. I love indica mids, but I'll probably smoke I'd rather grow my mids at home than pay for them. So I smoked this, and it was amazing. It was just like, oh, okay, now I get it. But no one else had showcased it. I think everyone was cutting it too early. I think that's what it was. I think it needed to, like, stank up more, and they just weren't letting it go. And I think that's one of 2 pressures I see in the industry now that I'm noticing with the recent cannabis that wasn't like it in the medical days, is like they don't seem to let it go maybe as long as it could, and they don't seem to maybe cure it enough.
Well, and these mid-level farmers, I've been on enough interviews and seen enough cure rooms on these farms to know that these mid-level frickin' farmers, especially outdoor farmers, they do not cure right. And that's why they get that mid-level shelf. They'll grow a great product all year in the sun. Yeah. And then they go to cure it, and they got such high volume, they don't get to cure it right.
Right.
In optimal conditions, and then you get a mid-shelf product, and then it just tears it down. And that's, people don't realize that, like, you can grow the best plant in the world, but that cure process is very important. You need that 60-60, man.
I think this year I'm going to run it into it finally, where I'm going to outgrow my, like, dry and curing spaces, and I'm going to have to come up with some.
And what happens is you start getting that stuff that doesn't smell very strong, kind of hay a little bit, and it could have been the best right off the plant, but then you got to get as close to 60 as you can.
You're talking about 60 degrees and 60% humidity?
You have to. I'm telling you, if you can keep within plus or minus 2 degrees and plus or minus like 5% humidity, I guarantee you.
Okay.
I promise you. Most people don't. People tell you.
I don't.
People tell you, hang the whole plant upside down, or don't use drying racks, or this and that. That has nothing to do with the cure. What you need to do.
Those things can all be done fine. It's fine, but Now I have to shoot for lower humidity because it spikes in my drying area, but I'm drying in a garage that's not temperature controlled. So the way I get away with it, no, but seeing it, I'm out. You know where I'm at. I'm out in the Agate Desert.
Yeah.
So like, I add humidity to my drying room. I add it, and if I'm lucky, I can get it up to 55 and keep it there. But keeping 60% humidity in there is difficult. And I would say...
You mean temperature or humidity?
Humidity.
Okay.
The temperature,
Can you keep it? Because sometimes it's hard to keep. The thing is if you're drying outdoor weed, you should be able to have access to some cold area.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it should be, by the time you're harvesting, should be about October-ish.
Well, right. Well,
so it should be in the 60s.
Something weird has been happening with these CBD strains I've been growing. They're not autoflowers. I'm telling you, they're not autoflowers. It's not that, because they're going in July, but I've been doing them indoors for so long. If they were autoflowers, they would have gone sooner. But they do this thing where they start flowering. Like, you get past the summer solstice, and then a few weeks after that, they're going. I've never, like, it's only been with this CBD Dutch Treat one plant because it's feminized seed, so everyone's a little different. And then this Cannatonic I grew, this seed.
I like Cannatonic. I got some of those seeds.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
However, it seems to be flowering. So I'm going to be drying that in a hothouse.
It's flowering now?
I think.
It's not going to revert on you, is it?
I don't know.
You better hope not. It's too late.
I know.
You're going to lose some volume.
So I wonder if that rain got me. Like, if it got dark enough to where it was like, oh, yeah, we're doing it.
Oh, you better hope it stays, man.
If it flowers, well, I had a CBD Dutch Treat start flowering in early August on me one time.
That's possible.
And that
in
was
July,
fine.
sure.
Yeah, I know. I've never seen it. Like, but it's not shooting out pre-flowers though. It shot out like 3 or 4 pistils on the end.
Well, it might stay in veg then.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I'm just like, it just did that thing where, they just start to turn over into flower, and you get a little more bunching at the growing nodes. And I was like, what are you doing, lady?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And so I'm just watching it.
Did it show any signs of sex at all?
Oh, it's female.
Okay.
Oh, it's she's got like white hairs. Like, it's coming.
If you start seeing those 3 leaves coming out, not the 5 and 7 and 9, but the 3s, that means it reverted on you.
Okay.
And that it doesn't mean nothing. It's just going to slow down the end.
Oh, okay.
Because it's going to revert into veg. It'll go from that flower mode that it's trying to be in back to veg again.
I don't need it to be bigger than it is. So if it wants to be shorter than the other plants, that's fine. It can do that.
I just say that because it's happened to me fucking like 2 or 3 years. I did that shit. I threw them out in like late April, which is still too early.
Okay.
And they went into flower. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, no. And then I lost like 2-3 weeks worth of growth.
I had a real Jaeger clone that someone gave me, and I threw it out in late April like an asshole. It flowered on me. And it just flowered. And I was like, I ended up harvesting it. I just pulled it out.
Like into June and shit.
Oh my, no, I pulled it way early. I was like, you know what? You're just going into joints, and I'm putting something else in this hole.
There you go.
Because it already had buds the size of my thumb.
Oh man, yeah.
So like, I didn't even want it to re-veg. I was like, go away, just get out. Like, I'm
too deep.
So I pulled it out. I hung it in my room because it didn't smell because it was too early. And then I rolled it into joints, and it turned out to be like a nice, like old school, like 8% joint weed is what I would call it. It was nice. So it turned out to have its utility after all.
Sure.
But it was not what I was going for. I was going for like more.
You could have juiced it. Throw it
in a blender with my shake.
Yeah, shit. Oh, I do want to throw this in too.
Okay.
I do have a Skittles back there.
Do you really?
I wanted to throw that out there because that's a little bit old school. Not really old school, but it's 4 or 5, 6 years old.
You're gonna make
at
me
least.
feel old calling that old school.
Well, but it's one of my personal favorites, man.
I love Skittles.
But I'll tell you, anybody that's going to attempt to grow, if you got the right cut, the original cut.
Okay.
Dude, have you ever grown it?
No, never.
Oh, they're temperamental.
Are they?
They grow smaller, little golf ball nugs, which is what I prefer anyway. I don't like growing those big spears, man. I don't. I
like looking at them.
They look. It's like it's like fake boobs. They look beautiful.
Yeah.
But when you go to play with them,
see, here's the thing. I was a young soldier, so when I was a young man, I spent a lot of time in strip clubs. So I don't know if that's why or whatever, but like, fake boobs don't bother me. Go for it. Whatever.
What do you mean don't bother you?
Like, I don't like necessarily have like when I was dating, I didn't have a strong preference over that. Like, natural versus that. Yeah, I don't know. They're kind of fun. It's like a different. It's like a fun, like, synthetic thing that you've got that you didn't have before.
It's novelty, but it doesn't go much further.
Fair enough.
It's like, do you want a good looking picture, or do you want something you
Fair
can
enough,
use?
yeah.
But I mean, the same thing with the bud. The big buds are great. They look great. They're impressive when you sell them to your friends. But like the chance of mold,
Yeah, and that's
especially outdoor.
Well, like I've been telling
bugs,
you, I'm always fighting to add
caterpillars.
humidity to my environment, not take it away.
Yeah.
So the big buds aren't as much of an issue out there on the edge of the desert.
And the cats don't get them. The caterpillars.
The caterpillars get them. And
Yeah, they
and
set up shop.
a lot of times when I finally get the buds I want, because a lot of times I don't grow big buds either. And then one of my indicas will throw off some big buds. I'm like, yeah, big bud. And then I ended up cutting all those off because they're filled with caterpillars. Like you said, you're right,
Because
but they're still pretty.
They've done it to me. This is what they do, dude.
Take all but 2 of my tops.
It's nighttime, right? And they're just chilling. They're walking around. They're like, oh man, I need a home, bro. So they're like, oh, look at that. Down here are apartments, and there's a mansion on top of the hill. I'm going to crawl up there. I'm going to get in there and shit all up in my house.
God,
grow some mold for you.
Have you started spotting the eggs on your buds?
Yeah, they're already there.
Yeah.
I'm already BTing, though.
Yeah, the little yellow, it's crazy. So some of them.
BT.
Oh, yeah. BT's important. That's a Bacillus thuringiensis.
There you go.
That's a hard word, especially off the dome.
Yeah.
But it
works well, though.
Yeah, it does. It makes and if you get it right on them, they'll die ugly. They get all black and weird looking.
Dude, I've had them hanging from leaves,
Oh, yeah?
dude, where they're just hanging on their little string.
That's how the first time I ever had budworms, I didn't know what I was looking for, so I hung the plant in my garage. And they came out in their strings when the plant started drying. Because for those of you who don't know, if you don't catch caterpillars, the way you can remedy having them and remove the affected material is if you're in a drying room and your airflow isn't too crazy. If your airflow is too crazy, it's not going to work. It's going to blow all the caterpillars back on the buds. But if you've got like airflow but nothing crazy like you should, your plants shouldn't be swaying back and forth in the wind in your dry room. There should just be a gentle breeze going over them. Mm-hmm. And in that gentle breeze, you will see these dead caterpillars hanging on their on their webbing.
They're little,
Yeah, and what you do is you follow that web trail up to that bud, and you cut that whole bud off, and you throw it away.
Oh.
Because
There's poo in there.
It's caterpillar shit in there, and it's going to turn your whole jar into bud rot overnight if you try to cure with that stuff in there.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know what that saying is, but you shouldn't shit in your...
No. There was that old hippie, one of my neighbors. He was like, "Hey, you ever try to smoke that caterpillar shit?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "You want to?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Damn it, I've been trying to get someone to do that for 20 years." He's been trying to get someone to smoke the caterpillar shit for 20 years. It's like some weird side quest he's on. He hasn't done it yet. No one's taking him up on it.
Dude, there's got to be mold on it to begin with.
I'm sure as soon as it comes out, it becomes a haven for bacteria and mold.
Yeah.
I mean, when it because they're eating your trichomes.
Well, and here's the deal. Like, I don't want to sidetrack on this, but like these farms around here, there's some, and I'm not going to mention names, but dang, dude, I've seen them to where they've got mold and they'll be like, oh, well, we're going to run concentrate on this. I'm thinking, oh my God, because they don't test for mold in Oregon.
Yeah.
And yes, it does kill the mold, but it doesn't kill the mycotoxin. That's like saying you can kill venom. You can't kill something that's not already alive. It's not alive. You can't kill it. It's still there.
And you talk about, and this is why I'm talking about dry sifting, because if I want concentrates, like I feel weird sometimes buying concentrates, because like you said, you don't always know what's in there. And I when I was coming up in my medical days, I never really had outlaw days because I was in the Army and they drug test. And when they say they drug test, they mean it, folks. It's not like your drug test at whatever if you get hurt. I mean, they show up at your door like, hey, guess what? Surprise.
Yeah, you might go to jail.
Yeah, so don't smoke weed if you're in the Army. Wait, get out. Experience true freedom. What were we talking about? I forgot, speaking of... farms, caterpillars,
mold,
mycotoxins. When I was coming up, I was watching people do those blast tubes.
Yeah.
And so now in my brain, that's connected to, even though that's not true, in my brain, I'm just thinking like some dude with like no hair, like blasting oil in his backyard. And like,
dude, I was there. I did that shit. Dude, I've got all kinds of glass tubes, man. I don't do that shit no more because I got a close column.
Oh no!
Which is still
okay.
Still do that, but it's much safer.
Do I need to edit that out?
Oh no! It's legal to own, not legal to use.
Okay, cool. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, cool.
So I don't use it. I just look at it.
Right. It's so beautiful. What beautiful glass art.
It's for conversation piece.
Right, like decor,
Yeah.
like everyone's got like a
So-
different kind of chic, and yours is like chemistry lab chic.
But back in the day, I did run glass tubes, man. And I'd look back, dude, and I was like, man, that's pretty fucking scary.
Yeah, and
All it takes is one to blow up on you.
no, yeah, and especially if you're in like a garage or like anything, if you're
And
not outside.
And that glass isn't special. So you're bringing it down below freezing temperatures and then letting it warm back up over and over and over again. At some point, it's going to blow up.
Oh yeah, they used to shatter on people all the time. They'd be so. For people who don't know, there's a giant clear glass tube. You stuff it full of bud. You take a butane canister at the end of it, jam it in there, and you shoot all the butane through the weed. And it's a solvent, so it pulls all the most of the
Through a
THC.
filter at the bottom.
Yeah, and then that's the concentrate that you're using, and it goes through another couple steps, and then it's concentrate. And you can dab it.
Right. Yeah. I used to use Pyrex dishes to off gas the butane.
Right.
There was one time, and I did it. Thankfully, I was doing it in my washroom,
Right.
and I ran the butane and let most of it dissipate or evaporate, and then I brought it into this little closed room, and I
Okay.
was letting it cool down, or not cool down, but like come to room temperature, the opposite direction. And I'm sitting. I closed the door, and I'm sitting in my living room watching TV, and all of a sudden I hear this. Boom!
Fuck. Oh no.
I mean, loud like an explosion. So I went back there, opened the door, and there was glass stuck in the walls, all four walls, because the Pyrex dish had blown up.
Oh,
From going from sub-zero to back up to room temp too
Yeah.
quick. For you people out there, don't do this stuff at home.
Yeah, I blew up a Pyrex dish making RSO at home once.
Shit's dangerous, bro.
Yeah, now that it's affordable, if you can afford it, I would recommend purchasing RSO or BHO rather than making it at home.
Dude, RSO is so cheap to buy now.
Oh, yeah.
Like even
That's
if you're paying,
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
even if you're paying taxes. Like I just bought a syringe of like almost 1,000 milligrams for like $22.
It's ridiculous how much it's gone down.
And it's nice RSO. Like it's not the black sludge. It's nice,
I
clean.
mean, it's not the stuff I used to make in my backyard.
Or I used to make, yeah, the real RSO.
I love how I would
Full
like
spectrum.
I would talk about people blasting tubes like so disdainfully, and then I was like making RSO in my back porch,
double
like,
boilers. Yeah,
yes.
fuck, dude.
Well, people had cancer. They couldn't afford it because people don't remember. Even like 4 years ago, a syringe of RSO cost like $60-$80. Sometimes some places.
Oh, dude, I've seen it way expensive for absolutely no reason.
And if you're trying to give someone like an old school Rick Simpson oil cancer treatment, that adds up fast.
Yeah.
Especially if they've got other bills and you're trying to source products. It's a zoo. And back in the early days when there wasn't this infrastructure set up, as far as concentrates, sometimes you were better off doing it at home.
Well, and then people were freaking using isopropyl alcohol and shit, and it's like, dude, I can tell that's iso, man. That's not cool. So
Whatever. I didn't do that. Maybe. Allegedly.
sometimes that's all people could get, but dang,
Yeah.
dude, if you can get something better than that, you should.
Well, yeah, I don't do it anymore. I'm not making RSO on my back porch anymore.
Sure.
Listen. After I blew up that Pyrex dish
You're like,
and I
"Eh."
squirted RSO onto my siding, I stopped doing it at home. Well, and like I said, the price dropped down. There's no need for me to like red knuckle it in my backyard if it only costs $20.
That's a thing. I don't even make my own concentrate anymore because I mean it's dirt cheap now.
Well, and no matter how you're doing it, like it's a lot of labor, and that's why I'm going to stuff like if I want to make concentrates, I'm going to make something really special. Like I want to make dry sift,
Yeah.
good dry sift, where I'm going to sit there with a screen and maybe a card for like an hour. But that's not for every
You need to
day.
get yourself a little heat press there.
See, I
Make some squish.
I've thought about it. Yeah, that's the next big thing. But honestly, dude, I kind of like just sprinkling dry sift on my joints and stuff like that. Just making them extra slimy, you know?
You know, for being, well, and don't take this the wrong way, but a younger generation, because I'm an old fuck, but, you know, so I'm surprised that pre-rolls are kind of your thing. Or even flour, because it seems like a lot of the younger generations are all into the dabs and concentrates and whatnot.
I
And it's only the old fucks that still fuck with flower and pre-rolls. Joints.
Yeah, dude, I rolled that this morning. I got to roll a joint before I go over there, just in case he smokes joint. And I like joints.
I love joints, yeah.
Well, there's something about, like, I have tins. I've got all my accoutrement. I used to be a big cigarette smoker. And one of the ways I was finally able to stop consuming nicotine was joints. Not saying that's the good way to go, but I sat there and I rolled weed. And every time I wanted a cigarette, guess what I got instead?
There you go, yeah.
And
yeah.
you know what? By the time I gave up and was going to go to the store, I was too high to drive to the store, so I couldn't. So it worked for me. Now, I don't recommend this for everyone. I've said this on several podcasts. This is how I quit smoking. But it's a harm reduction thing. I was smoking like 2 packs a day. I wasn't like a 7 cigarette a day smoker. It wasn't reasonable. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a vice that was reasonable. It was ridiculous. So we switched out addictive behavior, and I like to think I've accomplished harm reductions. I will tell you that why I quit smoking is my legs used to go numb on the toilet. My circulation was that bad.
Oh wow!
They don't do that no more.
Oh good. Yeah.
So yeah, it's fine. Like,
so you quit completely?
Yeah, I don't smoke. I don't smoke cigarettes at all.
Good.
Now every once in a while, like I'll break down. I'll have like a blunt, but I'm filling that with. There's no tobacco. I have just the raw wrap.
Yeah,
just the wrap. And even then, most of the time, if I'm doing blunts, like in quotation marks, it's usually a hemp wrap.
Oh yeah.
So like you'll see me on my Instagram like with a big old blunt. That's usually a hemp wrap. I just like big old fake blunts.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice to just smoke too much cannabis and rattle around your yard.
You like those King Palms?
They're all right. I actually like the there's two. There's the twisted hemp ones, and the they're out of the Philippines. What are they called? Juicy J's makes.
Oh yeah.
Is it Juicy J's? I think it's Juicy J's. It's a hemp wrap. It's pretty good. But yeah, of all of them, I usually go to the twisted hemp because there's 4 in the wrap and there's only 2 in the other one, so I usually go for those.
Yeah.
But I don't do that as much. Like there for a while, I was trying to smoke like 8 of those a day, but I don't do that anymore. That's a little ridiculous.
When I do blunts or wraps, it's usually because I got like mid-shelf weed, and I don't. A lot of times when you roll a blunt, you just pretty much just chase the blunt, right? Because if you get like a blueberry wrap or a mango blunt or something, you kind of taste that.
Yeah.
So you can take mid-level weed and still kind of, get away with it.
I'll call. That's how I grade weed, right? So the top of the shelf is bong weed. If I can put it in a bong and then not just die, bong weed. That's the top shelf. And then you've got joint weed. Joint weed can mean all kinds of different things.
Sure.
Be careful if I tell you like, no, this is bong weed, and I hand you a joint, hit that. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
But tell you it's joint weed, it could go either way. Now, if I tell you I'm handing you a trace scraping joint, don't hit that. That's for me. So at the end of every week, I take everything that's been falling in my tray and pick all the cat hair out of it and roll it into joints. And it doesn't matter.
It could be cat hair too.
Right, but it doesn't matter if I have a pound on hand or 8 pounds or an ounce or whatever weed I've got. I do that at the end of every week.
Yeah.
It's like a routine. I'm like, all right, time to smoke my leavings.
Nice.
And and sometimes it's a really interesting high, and sometimes it's kind of like smoking hemp if I've been smoking a lot of CBD. So it's kind of an interesting way to kind of assess what I've been consuming as well.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's yeah.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I thought it was just this old guys that smoked joints.
I feel like there's I don't know if class is the right word, but like cultural thing with like rolling weed. Because
I also feel better sharing a joint than I do a bowl for some reason.
See, and I feel like we're wrong there. I kind of feel the same way, but it's paper. It's probably worse.
Probably.
Because it's porous, like glass. So when I first, my partner, my wife will literally, like, if she's at a big session and people are passing around glass, she'll burn the tip with a lighter. And I'm thinking, like, the glass isn't porous, so if she burns whatever was on the people's lips, she's killed.
Yeah.
She gives it a second, it's cooled off, and then she hits it.
Yeah.
You can't do that with a joint.
No, that's true.
And depending on, like, so I've got a pretty, like, dry mouth for reasons. So, like, a lot of times I'm not drooling all over it, but some people, they hit it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Now we're smoking you, too. All right. But, like,
that's why I like to be the one making the blunt. Because I don't like smoking other people's spit.
So it's the same thing. My wife is like, does everyone know that you drooled all over every blunt that you've ever given them? Like, I give people blunts. And I'm like, I assume they know, but they probably try not to think about it.
Yeah.
And she's like, isn't that gross? I'm like, I don't know. You're burning most of it.
Yeah.
And she's like, have you ever thought about getting blunt glue? And I'm like, no.
Little wet sponge and be like,
They put it nice. Like, and honestly, the reason that I don't use like joint glue or anything like that instead of licking is like, I'm not a one-handed roller, and I've been rolling joints and I hand rolled cigarettes in the Army. It's rolling cigarettes or joints or whatever has always been part of like what I do, and I have never been a one-handed roller.
oh no.
But I've always rolled with a crutch. So because I don't like, because I've shared cigarettes and stuff, and I run into that, and a crutch eases up that drool. Like if you're like, I know a lot of people like old school blunts with no crutch.
Yeah.
I don't like sharing those as much. I prefer it with a crutch because then at least if they drool all over it, you got that crutch. You're not just, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's
I do. It also keeps the damn weed out of your mouth.
that too. Yeah.
I mean, so there's multiple advantages. But yeah, what was weird, that's one cultural change too. Think about it. Back in my day, the first 10, 15 years I smoked, it was really joints. It was freaking zigzags. I mean, the best option we had was 1 1/4 zigzags. Ooh. But like that was the option. And then at some point, someone just like a light went on. They're like, well, maybe we need to have a crutch in here.
Oh, okay.
And then all of a sudden we had cones. And it's like, where have these been all of our lives?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like, we should have had these back in the 70s.
Well, and I've had people accuse me of not hand rolling those. Like they'd be like, "Oh, where'd you get those?" I'm like, "No, I rolled that." And he's like, "You didn't roll that." I'm like, "Okay."
That is a lost art though nowadays. I mean, most blunts are easy to roll
fairly easy
compared to like a joint,
for sure,
especially pinners and stuff.
Yeah.
But you rarely see someone that can roll a good joint nowadays, unless they're old school.
Well, and I think
or you.
well, and you know, I feel like I because I hand rolled my cigarettes. That wasn't a thing that most people did even at the time I was in the Army from like 2005 to 2013. I was smoking all the time. And a lot of times it was just cheaper to buy like a sack and like some papers. And I can roll a cigarette or like, well, I haven't rolled a cigarette in a while, but I can roll a joint in like, it only takes me like 3 minutes. It doesn't take long.
Yeah.
And I have a whole station set up. It's not like I'm like building it from scratch. So just go. And then it's done. Like grind, like scale. Yeah. And I weigh my weed. I'm one of those weirdos.
You mean for per joint?
Yeah. That joint that you smoked had exactly 1 gram in it.
Wow. It felt like 1 gram.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
When I got that last hit, I was like, that's 1 gram.
Perfect. Yeah. See, I can't measure it like that. I have to use a scale.
I'm just joking.
I know. But
I measure in puffs.
Oh yeah, that was you shortchanged me that 21 puffs there, man. I only got 20.
You said that was a gram.
But yeah, I feel I wish I've tried to convince my friends to roll. Like they'll be like, "Oh, you can roll so well. I wish I could roll." You can just do it. No, I think it's a waste of weed thing too, because like a good joint has at least a half gram of weed in it, in my opinion, and I think pound for pound, a bong is probably more efficient, or like taking big hits out of a pipe. But to me, there's just something special about a joint that I just can't escape. I like it. I like the tactile feel. It feels cool to pass it to someone. You know, there's a tactile thing that's lost, I think. And also a joint just sits there and burns.
I know. And as wasteful as it is, it's still a nice convenience.
Yeah, and I think it's a different smoking experience too. I think it's a slightly different high.
Well, it's more it is. And it's more of a traditional way.
Yes.
Like it's got its roots instead of just like nowadays it's almost like crack, you torch.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like, what does it turn into? Which I'm not against. I take dabs all the time.
Yeah, and I
it's just different.
Yeah, and I don't really like, and that's the other thing. It's like, which high do you like? I like a joint high. I like a bong high. Dabs can be a little too intense for me, and when I eat even that apple fritter we had earlier, I got a little jittery afterwards.
Yeah.
Like
that was a full sativa, by the way.
Yeah, so if I smoke a sativa, a lot of times it's like, oh, okay, well, it's not doing what I need the weed to do for me. It's doing kind of the opposite sometimes. I need to calm the hell down. I don't need any more energy.
Yeah.
So with that, it's hit or miss. But if I do it with, like, if I smoke a little bit of flower, I can recover. But if I do a dab and it's too sativa-y,
Anxiety.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna turn into like a ball. I don't now. If it's an indica, I'm on cloud nine. But some people, sometimes my head doesn't read strains the way other people do. Someone will tell me, "Oh, this is an indica leaning hybrid," and I'm like, "Bullshit! This hits like green crack."
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to be careful with dabs, just because like getting too much of an indica high, I'm fine with, but too much of a sativa high or just too much too quick, I don't really like.
Yeah, I get it. And also, too, what I like about flower is that, to me, the high feels more, and this is not going to be a good descriptive word, but to me, it's more full spectrum.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sticks to your bones.
I think there's more compounds that is influencing your high than as you start to isolate it more and more and more. So you isolate it with concentrate, and then you can even isolate it to a distillate, and distillate to me is so fucking flat. Like you can take 98% THC, smoke, fat hit, blow your head off for all of 2 minutes, and then you're back to normal, like nothing ever happened. You're like, what was that?
I actually had a good distillate cartridge recently, and it wasn't from Oregon. It was from a farm up in Washington called No Bad Days. And the way they did it is they had this cooling tower. So I guess what a lot of them do is they run it in like a bulb, and so it's constantly heating and cooling off really fast.
Yeah, they're rotovapes, yeah.
But they use this tower, and so it only heats up for a certain portion and then cools off, so they don't lose as many terps when they're making the distillate. That was good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if there's more spectrum than just THC, it's really hard to find full distillates anymore. The ones I don't like is the distillates with artificial flavoring.
Yeah,
those are flat. If you can find the distillates that have added terpenes, even those are okay.
All right.
But like if I get a full spectrum, like live resin, like white label cartridge or whatever, dude, I just feel like I get fucking higher for longer.
Okay, yeah.
And that could be my head. I don't know. But that's why I like flower, is because that high I get from flower is longer lasting, and it's got a more complex high to it.
I agree with you. I also think, edibles are probably the way to go. Just pain specific.
For medical, edibles do help.
but if you're smoking versus vaping or oil, I think, like you said, it lasts longer. I think the effect is like deeper. Like for me, if I smoke flower versus if I have a dab, it works better for my joint pain than if I just did a dab. The dab is really good for like any like mental health symptoms I'm having. That's really good at that, but I don't feel like it does the thing I need it to do for my body, and that's where flower comes in for me personally. That's how I feel.
And interesting enough, something that just occurred to me when you're saying that is, so for me, if I have, like I said, I have stomach issues. If I have stomach issues in the morning and I'm going to use weed to help it, I'm better off using flower than concentrate.
Okay.
So whatever full spectrum of that flower helps me with my nausea way more than the less spectrum concentrate.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I don't know if that's in my head either, but if I wake up with nausea, smokable.
Okay. Well, we are at a long time. So
I know. Sorry about that.
No, I love it. I love it. We're gonna get another two-parter out of the Oregon Rooted crew.
Okay.
So thank you so much for being on the Bag Seed Chronicles Higher Peaks. Would you like to plug anything before you go? I know you've got a podcast.
Yeah. So I produce the Oregon Rooted podcast. I'm Higher Peaks. So it's been off for about a year, over a year now. We had some troubles with the show in terms of personal. We had some. We lost our business, and we also lost some housing in the Alameda fires around here. Mm-hmm. So we've recovered from that now. We're just coming back. So
I'm excited.
Yeah. So, but we'll let you know. We're at Oregon Rooted on IG, and everything is updated there. So,
awesome.
But yeah, check us out because we will be coming back, and I've got 4 or 5 episodes in the logs. So I mean, we got some stuff coming out.
Cool.
And awesome. I'll team up with you too. We'll start doing some podcasts together. I'll have you on the show.
I would love to be on.
Yeah. So all right, man. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for being on.
Yes, sir.
You can reach me, Uncle Dig, on Instagram at Uncle Dig. The bumper music on this podcast was produced by Chad DeVilliers on ukulele. He can be followed on YouTube at Ukuleles Are Stupid or on Instagram at Chadwick Enterprises. Thank you for listening to the Bag Seed Chronicles. Oregon rooted. Shit.